When I did the video on what I consider to be a very, very nice rifle, the SMK B45-3, I never actually mentioned how it was I became aware of these rifles in the first place, and that's a story which has taken quite an interesting twist just recently. So several weeks ago now, I got an email from my very good friend who I go rifle shooting with, who I wouldn't be able to do rifle shooting without him because we shoot in his driveway, which is a nice 25-yard long range. Perfect. So he sent me an email with a picture attached, and the picture was of an air rifle which had been languishing in the back of a friend of his shed, quite a damp shed, and it was very, very rusty. All of the lever part and the barrel were extremely rusty. The rest of it wasn't in too bad condition. The rear sight was damaged, but anyway, at the time, neither he nor his friend knew what this was, and he said, "Is there any chance that you know what it is? Can you identify it?" And when I first looked at it, I had no idea, but I did a bit of online sleuthing, and that's when I discovered that it was one of these. Okay, so like all things, when you start looking into stuff, I kind of went down a rabbit hole with it and went and had a look at all the dealers I know and on Gun Trader to see if I could find one of these, which I did, which is that one you can see before you now. Right, that was a few weeks ago. So fast forward to a few days ago, and I get a phone call from my friend, and he said that his friend wasn't too fussed about hanging on to the rifle. And he said, if you make him an offer, I'm sure he'd let you have it. So, I said, well, so we had a bit of a discussion about this, and I made him an offer, and he accepted, and consequently, I now have two of them. Now, this one is going to need a lot of work, and the reason I wanted it was because it was a very good price. I got it for a very good price indeed, but it's definitely a project rifle. Some attempt has been made to clean the rust off of the barrel and the pump tube, and obviously that's also taken off any bluing that was left on there, so that'll need to be stripped right down back to the bare metal. The stock is not in bad shape. It's got the Italian stock put on by SMK, just like mine, although it's some darker stain or darker wood than mine is, as you can see. There's some damage to the rear sight. We'll have a look at that in a minute. And the trigger guard is rusty. Now all I've done is really give it a look over. I haven't attempted to fire it. I did put one pump on it and it holds air, which is fantastic. So that probably means the cylinder is fine and I won't have to touch that. But yes, it's going to need a strip down and quite a lot of work. So here's the rear sight, and it should have a leaf like that on this side, and basically this is a cast block of aluminium, which is the underside has a threaded hole in it, and you put a screw through, and that is the front screw that holds the stock in place. But yes, it's definitely going to need some work. There should be a leaf like that on this side with a screw on it, and that provides you your windage adjustment, and this screw provides you the elevation adjustment. Now what I'm thinking is that the one that's on my other rifle, I could possibly use that as a pattern to cast a new one of those in aluminium. So that's a thought. The rear breech block and the magazine rotates freely. That's all fine. The bolt works, that's not a problem, he says. Yeah, that all works. It's a bit rusty. This just needs taking apart and cleaning up, really, repainting the blocks. The trigger guard, let's have a look at that. The trigger needs to be gently derusted. There's some surface rust on the inside, on the outside, as there is on the trigger, so that'll need some attention. But yeah, generally it's in pretty good nick, as is the stock. There are a few nicks on the stock, but I've seen rifles in far worse condition than this one. So yeah, so this is how I came to find out about these rifles. So that is my second SMK B45-3, and I'm very pleased and lucky to have it. So I will we'll come back to this once I've stripped it down. You can have a look at the internal components. Well, the second B45-3 has been stripped down to its component parts. The barrel and air pump and lever all of this has been stripped back down to bare metal, and we're going to have a go. I'm going to have a go with my friend at rebluing this. So that will be interesting because it's the first time that we will have ever done that. So we'll see how that goes. This is the rear sight, but it also is the front stock mounting. It's the screw that holds the front part of the stock on and screws into there. And as you can see, this is quite badly damaged. There's quite there's a big chunk missing out of it here, so I've got to work out some way of repairing or making a new one of those. But yeah, it's not in bad nick really. I'm quite pleased at the state it's in. So yes, next thing then will be that and this, and I'll bring it back when we get to do that. Well, the time has come to blue the barrel, or re-blue the barrel, I suppose we should say. Now I'm going to be using Birchwood Casey Super Blue, which is this stuff here, to do the bluing. This is because my friend actually has some of this, so that's why we're using that. The barrel pump tube and pump lever have been stripped back down to bare metal. They've been thoroughly cleaned. They've been cleaned with acetone, and then they have been wiped down, rinsed off with cold water, which is the procedure that I've read about, and this is how they Birchwood Casey tell you to do it. So we're going to be applying the super blue using cotton buds, and we've got, obviously all of this needs to be done. I've modified my gun vise so that this can be turned around. I just thought that would be a much easier way of being able to get the bluing on everywhere. So apparently you're supposed to put it on, leave it for 30 seconds, and then basically rinse it off with cold water. Well, I watched some videos where they actually leave it on for quite a bit longer than that, and no harm was done. So I may well leave it on for a little longer. So I have some of the bluing solution in this little plastic tub here. I have left some of the original bluing on the very end of the barrel and the pump tube, because these bits here are covered by the end cap, but it'd be interesting to see the comparison between the original and what we get from the bluing. So let's start at the front end and work our way down. Now, as far as I know, you should see an almost immediate reaction with this stuff. Yeah, well, they weren't wrong about that. Yeah, it's already turning black, which is impressive. The bluing solution is an acid, so you would expect this kind of a reaction from it as you apply it to the metal. Right, well, I'll turn the camera off now. We'll come back when I'm done. Okay, well, it's done, and it's gone very dark. I was expecting to have to do several coats of this, but it seems to have darkened up very, very quickly. Some is even, some is not so even. So, yeah, I'm not sure why that is done, that has happened, but overall, very happy with the result. Well, that worked out remarkably well. I was a bit apprehensive about doing this. I've never done it before, obviously, but no, it worked out. I used 2 applications. It says on the bottle to leave it on for 30 seconds, but I actually left it on for a few minutes because obviously it takes more than 30 seconds to actually do the whole thing. So yeah, well, I left it on for a few minutes. Then wash it off with water, dry it off, rub down with very fine wire wool, and do it again. I only did 2 because it was plenty dark enough. I don't know how well this is going to come out, but I'll zoom in on the barrel and the air pump tube so you can see it. As I said, I don't know how well the video is going to show it up, but it's superb. I mean, I can't. It's not perfect. It's not 100% perfect, but it is bloody good, and I am very, very happy with the finish. So the next thing to do now is, apparently you spray it with oil and leave it overnight, and then wipe it down in the morning, and it's ready to go, ready to use. Yeah, we're pretty much ready to put this thing back together. I've still got to paint the front block, which is this bit, but I thought I'd leave the painting of that until I've done the bluing. All the other parts that needed repainting I've done, so yeah, it's pretty much ready to go back together.